can't wait.
With John Dickinson.
Hey, JD, what you up to, sugar? Long time no talk to.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live at KNBR.com and on the KNBR app.
.9. Hard bats it out of that. Well, hey, I know we have more time, I think. They released the gas from the scoreboard.
I hope it's not gas, so we're all in trouble. I don't know what that is. They've released the winning smoke from the ribbon board.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, there you go. 0's the call. So, Glenn, it's another loss, which is the bottom line for the NBA, but they did show some fight in the fourth quarter. Yeah, they did. Warriors showed some fight in the fourth quarter, but ultimately a 102-92 loss to the Clippers. No Stephen Curry in this one. No Draymond Green in this one. Gary Payton II is going to be reevaluated in about a week, and the Warriors are now 13 games in, 30 games in, to this NBA season. And they have gone 3-12 in the last 15 after going 12-3 in the first 15, exactly 15 up and 15 down. We welcome you into Dubs OT with JD, John Dickinson here on KNBR, the sports leader. 808 KNBR is the number, 415-808-5627. Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line is open as we are live here tonight. We'll keep the conversation rolling as long as the people want to do so here on this Friday. Quick turnaround for the Warriors. Back in action tomorrow at Chase Center with the Phoenix Suns in town. Suns got beat earlier tonight by the Dallas Mavericks down in the Valley. So both teams will be playing the second of a back-to-back, and both teams with some travel up to the Bay to have that game tomorrow. So Jonathan Kaminga, career-high game for him, 34 points, 11 of 19 shooting, a lot of it done in the paint, a lot of it done at the free throw line. Kaminga also playmaking some tonight with 5 assists. His motor was pretty high with 10 boards, and without Stephen Curry and Draymond Green, Draymond, who plays most of his minutes still at the power forward position, and Steph Curry, who obviously is the Warriors' primary scorer, it opened things up for Kaminga, even though he came off the bench to play 37 minutes. And Kaminga, 2 long stretches in this one for JK. He played 18 minutes of the first half, even though he didn't start, and then he played 19 more in the second half, even though he didn't start either half. He came in and then did not leave the floor in both halves of this game. And he and I think Brandon Podziemski both really led a bench group for the Warriors that dominated the game. You look at this thing for the Warriors, and it's going to be ugly or potentially ugly without Steph Curry in the mix. But the Warriors bench outscored the Clippers bench 55-14. So a plus 41 for the Warriors bench in a game that they lose by 10, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. That means you get beat 88-37 in the rest of the game there to lose by 10 when even though you're a plus 41, so you're a minus 30 or you're minus 51 from the starters. And again, Kaminga essentially was a starter in this game, even though he came off the bench. He played more minutes than anybody on the floor tonight, other than Norman Powell and James Harden, and more than anybody for the Warriors tonight by a significant margin. Brandon Podziemski played 30. So 808 KNBR, what does this game mean? What do these last 15 games mean for the Warriors? The 3-12 after the 12-3, we can dissect all of that. And really, I think that the theme of things for tonight is, and I don't think tonight was Kaminga's best game. I still think his best game was the game against the Rockets, where he had the 33 points and along with Andrew Wiggins helped lead the Warriors to a really nice win in the only other game that both Stephen Curry and Draymond Green missed together. So the Warriors are 1-1 in those games, And interesting, Kaminga, 34 points and 33 points in the 2 games here over a span of the last 3 weeks that both Steph Curry and Draymond Green miss. Those are the nights that Kaminga goes off and has his closest to career outputs. And so it's interesting because, the Warriors have not, again, a lot of it is him having the opportunity to do so and take all those shots and the like. But the reality is the 2 highest scoring games of Kaminga's career are the only games that both Stephen Curry and Draymond Green have missed this season. If that is not an indicator of where the Warriors should go in the lead up here to the trade deadline, I don't know what else is, but maybe it muddies the conversation. And no, I don't think that means we'll build around Jonathan Kaminga. Shocker. But again, it boils down to the Warriors have to figure out how to get this version of Kaminga to work in conjunction with Steph Curry and Draymond Green, or they have to trade him off the roster. And that's just the reality of this situation. And continuing to try and do both is part of the reason why the Warriors had a great start to the year and have gone 3-12 to add up to 15 and 15 here through the first 30 games. So that's got to be, I think, the overarching theme for this one, as Kaminga was really the only one that had it going significantly for the Warriors offensively in this game. You look at some of the other numbers, the starters. I mean, Dennis Schruder, 3 of 11. Andrew Wiggins, 2 for 11. Trayce Jackson-Davis did have 15 points. He was 4 for 4 in the second half after being 3 for 8, and a lot of shots missed in the paint for Trayce Jackson-Davis. Buddy Hield, 2 for 8. So you look at, that's 5 of 19, 7 for 30 tonight for Dennis Schruder, Andrew Wiggins, and Buddy Hield, all in the starting lineup. And if they're able to get Schruder 0 of 6 from 3, or Wiggins 1 of 3 and 2 of 11 overall, you get anything from Schruder, Hield, or Wiggins, you might have a shot to win the game if you get the game that you had from Jonathan Kaminga tonight and the bench guys. But yeah, starters didn't have it. Complete domination by the Clippers starters, and then the bench group playing much better. And Steve Kerr sticking with that bench group throughout the fourth quarter as the Warriors found themselves down 19. The Dubs outscoring the Clippers in the fourth, 30-21. They played some pretty dogged defense in the fourth quarter as well. And Kaminga was really getting to the free throw line. Bright spot for Kaminga also tonight. He did make more of his free throws. I think at one point he was 8 of 9 from the free throw line. He finished 11 of 14. So he missed a couple of his final 5 there. I guess 3 of his last 5 from the free throw line, but 11 of 14, something you can live with. The Clippers kept fouling him. Over and over and over. And he kept attacking, and it winds up being a career high night for Jonathan Kaminga with the 34 points, also 10 boards, 5 assists, 2 blocks. Or 2 steals with a block. Did have a couple of bad pass turnovers in this one that Norm Powell missed a layup on. There was another one where he looked to hit Moses Moody in the corner late. But again, when you're basically handing the guy the keys, at least for the night, to be the primary scorer and playmaker down the stretch of games where nobody else is scoring. No wing or guard did anything really for the Warriors in this game tonight. Moody had 11, Podziemski had 10, but again, it was TJD with the 15, and a nice second half from Trayce Jackson-Davis in this game. So, and Kerr rode Podziemski, Waters, Moody, Kaminga, and Trayce Jackson-Davis really almost the entire fourth quarter. There was some Buddy Hield mixed in there as well to get Lindy Waters a rest, but basically those guys played the bulk of the fourth quarter, and the bench guys just higher motor and better overall play in this one collectively. 55-14 Warriors bench outscored the Clippers. Just some other thoughts on this one generally, but 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. Appreciate everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch, as well as the YouTube chat gets fired up here on this Friday night. Thanks for everybody who is watching on YouTube here. We'll dive into the chat here. We've got sounds of Dubs OT for you. Nice effort, Rebel to Sounds, to make the game interesting. But again, a night where the Warriors, it all adds up to another loss to drop this team now to 15-15 on the season. But a career night nevertheless for Jonathan Kaminga. Early on, 18th different starting lineup for the Warriors in 30 games. Second one without both Stephen Curry and Draymond Green. They beat the Rockets, as we were talking about just a few minutes ago, back, 3 weeks ago last night on the 5th of December. Warriors just not making shots early. It was an ugly quarter both ways. Neither team shooting it well. The bench had a 10-0 advantage in that quarter, and they actually led at the end of the first quarter. The Warriors did 21-19, so they won the first quarter, able to win the fourth quarter. But the loss in this one for the Warriors sustained in the second and third quarters. Warriors had the higher motor early. The hustle game was there. They had a 9-0 edge on the offensive glass in the first quarter. A turnover started to bite them in quarter number 2. And Kaminga was rolling early. Really, the one guy who was scoring played 18 straight minutes after subbing in around the 6-minute mark of the first quarter, all the way until the half. The Warriors were really keeping it close. He was punishing Amir Coffey and getting to the bucket on cuts and getting to the rim in the short post. The Clippers, though, win the quarter 30-22 to lead, and the Warriors were up 41-40 late, a 9-2 run. That's really where the second quarter got away for the Warriors, and they were down 6 at the half. And really, story of the game at that point, the Clippers owning the paint at that point, 30-18 in the paint. Warriors were shooting under 33% overall. Neither team was making threes, but it was Wiggins and Schruder just giving the Warriors nothing. A lot of misses in the paint for the Warriors in this game. And you look up at the end of the night, it actually ended up relatively even in the paint. The Warriors with a big second half to close the gap. But the field goal percentage in the paint really told the story. The Clippers, 15 of 22. The Warriors were 9 of 24. And that really was the difference. TJD missing a lot of those in that second quarter. Third quarter, Clippers able to take control. More of Buddy Hield and Schruder and Wiggins just not able to buy a bucket for the Warriors. Clippers pushed the lead up to 15 and then all the way up to 19 going to the fourth quarter. But Harden controlling the game at that point for others. Kaminga again comes in and provides a spark, an immediate 8-2 run for the Warriors when Kaminga came in the third quarter, and he would play after missing the first 5 minutes of that quarter, the rest of the night on what proved to be a career night for Jonathan Kaminga, but just not enough from really anybody else. And this is another game for Dennis Schruder. We should probably pause and talk a little bit about Schruder. Warriors acquiring Schruder, and now he's played against Memphis and Minnesota, Indiana, the Lakers, and Clippers. So this is a 5-game stretch now for the Warriors since acquiring Dennis Schruder, and they have just the one win, 1-4 with Schruder, and Schruder has just not brought it. I mean, add this game to the list in terms of Dennis Schruder struggles. I mean, he just is not making shots. He doesn't look like the same confident guy we're used to seeing. And albeit a lot of that is, all of it is what he's gone up against the Warriors. I mean, he's really been somebody that's had some of his biggest games against Golden State. But look at the numbers for Schruder: 2 for 12, 3 for 8, 3 for 9, 3 for 10, and now 3 for 11. For Dennis Schruder in his 5 games with the Warriors. Schruder 3-point shooting in the first 5 games for the Warriors. He's had 3 offers, and he's had 2 0 for 4s and an 0 for 6. So he's got an 0 for 14 in 3 of the games. and a 1 for 17 in 4 of the 5 games. He had 3 of 6 from 3. So yeah, you add that up, and he's what, 4 for 23 in his first 5 games with the Warriors. He's not getting to the free throw line like he had been. He has had 5 assists in 3 of the first 5 games, but 5 points, 9 points, 9 points, 11 points, and 7 points. The Warriors hoping to get much closer to the 18, 19 a game with those assist numbers and efficient scoring and a guy who's making 3-pointers. And it just has not flat out been there at all for Dennis Schruder in these first 5 games. And it just hasn't clicked. And you're thinking tonight is the kind of night where Kaminga's going to step in and get more opportunities. And Kaminga is going to relish in the opportunity to take more shots and have the ball in his hands a significant amount. But I think the Warriors were looking for a hell of a lot more from Schruder in terms of aggressiveness. And tonight's a night where you're going to need Wiggins and Buddy Hield to maybe make some shots, and they just got it from none of the other guys that they needed it from as you start to go through a perspective pecking order on a night like tonight for the Warriors. And it all adds up to, showed some fight in the fourth quarter, but the Warriors end up losing it 102-92, the final, as the Clippers end up getting the win over the Dubs. So the Dubs are 15-15 on the season, but they do outscore the Clippers 30-21 in that fourth quarter. So what do you do with Jonathan Kaminga? How does tonight change the conversation? And I think there are really 3 ways you can go with it. Tonight, with Kaminga showing it, again, in the games where not only is it Steph out, but Draymond out. And I'll be honest, there's a couple ways you can look at it. I'll just continue what I was going to say. A couple ways you can look at it. Steph's out, Draymond's out. Kaminga gets the opportunity to do this. And immediately you think, well, how do you get that output out of Kaminga when Steph and Draymond play? Because he functions in a completely different manner. Again, though, you look at it and say, well, he got 34. They scored 92. And a lot of it was just putting the ball in his hands and letting him put his head down and try to get fouled. When you play like that, it's just not conducive or a basketball fit for the way Steph Curry and Draymond Green play. It's not a fit at all for the Warriors system. It's almost easier to let Kaminga do that on nights where Steph and Draymond are out. And while, again, he can get his, as he did tonight, the Warriors score 92, and it's kind of an ugly game all told that ends up being a loss. So the question becomes, do you keep him around and figure out a way to where you can get closer to that production with the other guys or with those other guys back and playing? Is this another indicator that you have to look to trade him because he cannot fit in and do this regularly when those two guys are playing? Or do you just hang on to him and say, hey, he's too talented. It may not click in the short term, but you can't give this guy up because eventually he is going to be a 25 to 30 point per game scorer in the NBA. And it may not fit now, but 2 or 3 years from now, when Steph Curry's gone, you want that guy maybe to be your number one. Obviously, I'm not going to be one that's going to choose that option because you're going to have to pay him as such, and it's incongruous as far as the timeline goes with everything the Warriors are trying to do. But if you want this Jonathan Kaminga to stick around, then you have to completely change the way that you play and change the way that 2 future Hall of Famers and 4-time NBA champions play in an attempt to acquiesce. And, oh, by the way, it's not like playing that way means you're necessarily going to win games because you still lost tonight by 10, even though Kaminga scored 34 points. So it is quite the conundrum. It is not necessarily a bad problem to have, though, because the one thing that a night like tonight does do is it does put the rest of the league on notice and have the potential to up Kaminga's trade value if you are of the belief that he needs to be the primary player that ends up in a deal to try and bring somebody back that helps fit the Warriors' timeline of Steph Curry and Draymond Green and really Steve Kerr. Because as I was having the conversation on social media with somebody tonight, those three are a package deal right now. It's Steve and Steph and Draymond. It's those three. And it's how do you build the rest of it with those three here for the next 2 years, plus what's remaining of this year, and try to maximize it to be as good as you can possibly be. And the reality is the Warriors are starting over now tomorrow. Steve Kerr telling reporters down in Inglewood tonight that Stephen Curry and Draymond Green both expected to return tomorrow against the Suns. So tonight was basically a glorified rest night for both. Back-to-back, Curry's already missed a couple of home games. Draymond's been banged up, as has Curry. In the past, it's basically been, hey, if Steph doesn't play, Draymond sometimes feels like that's a night where maybe he shouldn't play. And so you are able in that vein to maximize both of them by both getting them a night here. And look, the Warriors' schedule is no joke in terms of the games now coming up. They had their break, and they missed taking advantage of that break. They had a 7-day stretch where they played one game, and now they've come out of that stretch, and they're 1-4 in the 5 games coming out of that stretch. And now it's back-to-backs, and it's every other day. And, I mean, really, all the way here for the next 2-3 weeks. I mean, they're going to play a ton of games here. I think, 19 or 20 games basically in the next 34, 35 days for the Warriors once they get through tomorrow and on into what's ahead on Monday and throughout the entirety of January. So there may be a couple of more nights where the Warriors look to do what they did tonight in terms of resting not only Steph, but resting Draymond. So, yeah, glorified rest night for the Warriors. And look, I think whether Kaminga starts or comes off the bench, having Draymond Green not play, who is the primary four for the Warriors, that also allows Jonathan Kaminga to go off and have a little bit more freedom to have the ball in his hands, because Draymond's such a big part of the Warriors' offensive playmaking. And so when Draymond's not out there, that it's not just Steph, it's Steph and Draymond lead to Kaminga having the ability to have more touches as he did in this game, to be able to end up with a career high 34 points on 11 of 19 shooting. Dennis Schruder averaging under 9 points a game in his first 5. 4 for 23, as we mentioned, from three-point range. They have not gotten anything out of Dennis Schruder here in these first 5 games. And he was supposed to be somebody that stepped right in and pretty quickly would be able to help them and be kind of a net positive. It just has not worked out. Has not worked out at all. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. The Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line is open here. The YouTube chat is off and rolling. Really appreciate everyone jumping in here and joining the conversation on a Friday night. We're going to be back at it tomorrow with Dubs OT from Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City as the Warriors will continue back in action against the Suns, back in action at home tomorrow with Stephen Curry and Draymond Green expected to be able to play in that one, according to Steve Kerr. So let's go ahead and take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll get to the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. We will get into the YouTube chat as well as the Warriors lose this one 102-92, the final. Quick timeout right here on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Hoops Heads, Dubs OT with John Dickinson keeps balling. Streaming live at twitch.tv/thesportsleader.
The Warriors are fighting defensively right now.
Opportunistic. There it is, the windmill.
He went Dominique around the world.
Ty Lue will call his third timeout of the fourth quarter with his club up 16.
All right, Warriors make it interesting down the stretch, but they lose at 102-92. Back here on KNBR, it's Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. 808 KNBR, Jonathan Kaminga, the seventh Warriors player to have multiple 30-point games off the bench. New career high for JK, 34 points. Got to the free throw line more than he has in any game in his career, and also had a season-high 10 rebounds. So Kaminga kind of did a little bit of everything for the Warriors, but he does it on a night where both Stephen Curry and Draymond Green are unavailable, which leads to the question, how do you make it all fit when those two are back? And Jonathan Kaminga takes on a lesser role, but still is a player that the Warriors very much need if they want to be successful. Golden State now 15-15. So as great as they were in the first 15, they have been as bad in the last 15 over a 5-week stretch. 12-3 to start, 3-12 going all the way back to a month ago when the Warriors skid started in San Antonio, and then with an 18-point blown lead, a 17-point blown lead after that to Brooklyn at home, and it has been all downhill since for the Golden State Warriors. A couple of wins, believe it or not, in that stretch against the Timberwolves. Oddly, 2 of the 3 Warrior wins against Minnesota, the other one against Houston, and they have dropped every other game over the last 5 weeks here to sit at 15-15 and 3-12. Over that stretch. Just nothing so far from Dennis Schruder. You look at Andrew Wiggins and Buddy Hield, along with Schruder in this game tonight, and they gave the Warriors very little on a night where they really needed it, obviously, with Stephen Curry out. All right, 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Let's get to Steve in Albany here, our tip-off caller tonight on Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. Hey, Steve.
Hey, John. Great. Always good to hear from you, man. Thanks a lot for putting me on. I guess we can kind of look at this as a 52-game season now.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get in. I don't want to get into what we should do with Kaminga because I have a feeling we probably will butt heads on that. What I do want to talk about is Schroeder and Buddy Hield. Like you said tonight, totally disappointing performances. But what I've noticed in the past few games from Hield is it seems like every shot he takes is a forced contested shot. That there's nothing really in the flow of the game. And to some extent, Schroeder's like that too. He takes shots sometimes. I'm going, what are you shooting so early in the shot clock for? Why isn't the ball moving? I mean, it's not like they don't do anything well. They do. But it's for guys who have been in the league for so long, I expect better leadership. There was that point, I don't remember, about 45 seconds left in the first half. The Warriors are down by 3. They have the ball. For some reason, Schroeder decides he's going to run the whole shot clock off and not even get a shot off. Then they come back and score a 3. So now instead of it being a 1 or a 3-point game, it's a 6-point game, and they've got the momentum. So I don't understand what's going on with those guys. And
Hield just takes. I think Hield has a green light, and because of that green light, he just takes some bad ones. Schruder, and you sort of live with it, but Schruder just doesn't look like he's in any kind of rhythm in terms of understanding the offense or what's a good shot for him within the offense or when to move it and get it back versus when to attack.
Right.
It just has been, I think, completely out of whack. That's the more alarming, believe it or not, for me of the two, because they're counting on him, I think, to be at least for the time being, until they maybe make another trade, they're kind of counting on him to be, a guy who's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. I think between
Absolutely.
Steph and Draymond making plays for others, and obviously Schruder and Kaminga is going to be a big part of that too. But Schruder looking like such a non-fit is I think a lot more alarming than meets the eye.
Yeah, got it. All righty. Oh, one more thing. Any idea why the press they used in the fourth quarter that we saw early on in the season has vanished until tonight?
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if that's he's been playing fewer players kind of a thing, and he's a little bit more reluctant to have them pressure, because that really does take a lot out of you. And look, at any team that's buttoned up can beat that press pretty quickly in the NBA. So I think you do have to be selective in when you do it, because it's just a way to get beat for a layup every time if you're not. But yeah, they have been less creative defensively, I think, than they were in the early part of the season. But nothing has looked the same as it did in the first 15 games here. These last 15, in fact, it's really looked like, I think, unfortunately, Steve, it's looked a lot like the worst parts of the last two seasons. Leading up to this one over this 15 game stretch. Steve, I'll give you one. I'll give you one on Kaminga, man. We can agree to disagree. What do you think the answer is there? Is it? I mean, it's. I mean, do you build it more around him? I mean, all things are on the table, honestly.
I think that Kerr and Steph and Dre have to figure out a way to meet him halfway, and for him to do the same in return. I think it can work, but that both sides have to be willing to give up what comes natural to them, and give him time where he gets to go on his own. Because it seems like he's shown more restraint. Where he starts penetrating okay, I don't have it here, let me back it out, or let me pass it to Moody in the corner for an open three, like we saw tonight. But I mean, that's why I think it's going to take everybody to get on the same page and work together, and not say it's either my way or you're out of here.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, honestly, Steve. I mean, he did tonight. It's just you can't. When Steph and Draymond are out there, it's really hard to do what he did in terms of, maybe the initial move isn't there. He backs it out. He makes another move. Like he truly, like if you're doing that with Steph and Draymond on the court, it immediately becomes, why are you not giving it to Steph? Like what we heard from Steve, from Kerr here within the last week. It's like, we don't need those shots early in the shot. So it really has become, it really has become almost they have to run two different offenses or play two different, all right, now Steph and Draymond, you guys are going to rest, but Kaminga's going to do his thing and try to take the game over for 5 minutes in the way that he knows how to do it. I mean, it really almost boils down to that in a lot of ways. He can't do it the ways that he did it tonight and the way that maybe he did it in the other game those two didn't play. When he's successful and those guys are playing, it's just different. It's layups, it's dunks, it's plays that are basically kind of spoon-fed for him. It's transition. Occasionally he'll shoot the three if it's left open for him, and his better games, obviously, he'll make 2 or 3 of them, and other games he doesn't. But it really is just his games are very different from like what we saw tonight, and when he is successful. When the other main guys are playing, and it's just, I'm just not sure that there's enough time to figure it out. And I think everybody probably deserves a little bit of the blame as to why it hasn't been able to be worked out in year 4 at a greater level, Steve.
All right, my friend. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. 808 KNBR, Steve in Albany getting us going here on the Sports Leader as the Warriors lose 102-92 to LA. Alpha, let's get into the YouTube chat here. Alpha getting us going. Really like Kaminga. There's no way the Dubs can even consider giving him a max contract until he at least becomes a consistent two-way player. Joke's on you. The commenters were rolling even during the third quarter tonight as I'm looking at this. Guy Santos, people not happy with the Guy Santos minutes in the second half. Rebel to Sounds, nothing from Heald, nothing from Moody, nothing from Wiggins. Yeah, that is really where you drop this one. AJ Cruz 75, appreciate you for chiming in right as we got things going. The Dubs can't afford to stand pat at the trade deadline. These guys aren't good enough to get over the hump. Without Curry and Dre, heck, they struggle with them both on the floor. They got to do something. Tonight doesn't change anything for me. I think if you're the Warriors, you hope tonight leads you down a path of it boosts Kaminga's trade value, and you can look to make a move that you can bring in a player or multiple players that fit with your veterans and your other guys more compatibly. I just think we've seen too much where it doesn't fit, and you got to start getting something out of Schruder. And again, if this team starts dipping under 500, I think the question might become something different. I mean, do you look to focus more? I mean, that would be the ultimate after all of this, to say, well, this team's not good enough with the veterans. Let's tear it down and really focus on playing the young guys more. I don't think the Warriors are really looking to do that unless Stephen Curry sustained some kind of an injury that was going to keep him out for a significant amount of time. I think that's the point at which maybe they would look to do something like that in terms of, all right, we're just going to play the kids, for the, and have them be more of a focal point in things. I still think it is try and salvage this thing to the best of their abilities, but you got to be honest about it. They have wasted now the 12-3 start by going 3-12 in the last 15 games, and they are right back to essentially a second opening night tomorrow at Chase Center on December the 28th against the Phoenix Suns, with their record right back to even. Clement Ackers losing to both LA teams in less than a week. Discouraging and painful. Well, hell, that's the Warriors' third loss in 3 games to the Clippers. Hell, the Warriors weren't beating the Clippers even when they were 12-3. So that has remained consistent. They were 12-3. 2 of the losses were against the Clippers. They're 3-12, and 2 of the wins are against Minnesota. Go figure. Enrique Rivera in the YouTube chat, this team is dysfunctional offensively. They have some serious deficiencies. There's just no rhythm offensively tonight at the beginning of the game. And I think part of the reason why Steve Kerr had Kaminga still come off the bench is because he intends to have Kaminga be in that bench role when Steph and Draymond are playing, and he's back to having Trace Jackson-Davis starting alongside Draymond. And it really didn't matter tonight because Kaminga played 37 minutes. But, I mean, you're thinking that you are going to have enough offense on the court with Schruder and Heald and Wiggins, and Schruder and Heald and Wiggins were terrible in this one tonight as they combined to go 7 for 30 and just really just shoot the Warriors completely out of the game in this one, down by as many as 21, 19 going to the fourth quarter, and the Warriors able to, in the fourth quarter, cut it down. I mean, they were in the game. They were able to make it, what was a 5-point game, I think, at one point. Actually got down to 3 at one point with about 2:30 to go. Moses Moody hit a 3 to make it 91-88, but not enough. Warriors lose it 102-92. So 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Let's continue here on the YouTube stream. Apollo Cruz, Curry was whispering in Harden's ear, "We need you. Let's ride." Yeah, I highly doubt that one. That was going on. Joe H., this game epitomizes exactly what kind of player Wiggins is. Can't depend on him to show up when you need him. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, it really, I mean, it's tough to flip a switch in that realm. And Wiggins at different points has shown to be hit or miss in those kinds of situations. It's always tough, though, I think, to say, hey, star players are out, now go get it, right? I think that's difficult for role players to step up and step into that role. And I think it's different for a player like Wiggins than it is for somebody like Kaminga, who really has so much to prove and is so confident in his own abilities. And really, again, tonight, the cynical way of looking at tonight for Kaminga, and again, I don't mean this to shade Kaminga in any way, but tonight was basically, you're playing for Detroit 2 years ago and you're going to win 15 games, but you're the best player on the court and everything runs through you and you get to show it off. Good, bad, indifferent. Go be the franchise player for the team that stinks. Like that was Kaminga tonight, playing for a lousy team. I mean, how many games would this team win? If the team that actually played tonight, if this was the actual Warriors team, I mean, would they win 20 games? Probably not. But you know what? Jonathan Kaminga would probably average 25 to 30 points a game, and people would think he's a future star. But he would have been granted that opportunity to let it fly and make mistakes and grow from it and all of that. So, again, credit where credit is due for him going out and playing well. But tonight was, I think, when you think of, like, how does a guy like Kaminga really truly develop, games like tonight are how a player like Kaminga truly develops. Because he was not perfect tonight. He got fouled, he made some mistakes, he turned the ball over a couple times late. But he ended up being, the best player on the team tonight and the leading scorer. But you lose by 10. So, again, still, I think you have to, at some point, look at the bigger picture in all of this. And I think at a minimum, it helps the trade value if you are looking to trade. As far as Wiggins goes, games like tonight are really the kinds of games where you're more inclined to put Wiggins in a deal. I'm not going to, I mean, as much as I've been reluctant to do that, and somebody hit me with this, I think it was Paul Wilson on Twitter or X or whatever the hell we're calling it. But he'd said, hey, I think everybody other than Steph should be tradable, available. And I said, well, it's really, I think, Steph and Draymond. But I think that's where the Warriors are right now. I think it truly is Steph, Draymond, and Kerr are not going anywhere. And they are willing in the right deal to move anybody and everybody else on the roster. Like, I think they are to that point. But as we've talked about so many times on this show and so many times on KNBR overall, you get one shot to make the big move. One shot. And then it's done. And you better get it right, or you could wind up in a much more difficult position. Everyone's worst nightmare joining the YouTube chat. The Kings fired Mike Brown today. Yeah, they did. And that's another thing we've been talking about here on Dubs OT for the last couple of weeks. The fact that the Kings, with every loss, were getting closer to doing something stupid. And then they delivered. Wow. That is an all-timer from a franchise that's had a bunch of all-timers in the last couple of decades. But yeah, that's stunning. Honestly, we'll have a portion of Sounds of Dubs OT where Steve Kerr reacted to the news that the guy who left the Warriors right after they won the championship in 2022 led the Kings to their first playoff appearance in 17 years and damn near knocked the Warriors out as defending champs, sending them to a Game 7 with Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox and that crew. And not basically a year and a half later, he's fired after being the coach of the year in 23. and leading that team to the only 2 winning seasons that they've had in the last 18 years, 19 years, I guess, now that we're coming into 2005, and they are moving on. And that's a team that's in even worse shape than the Warriors are, for as bad as things are for Golden State right now, sitting at 15-15. The Kings now are at 13-18, I think at this point, and really struggling and in some trouble at this particular point in time. And Warriors and Kings gonna see each other a lot here coming up, a couple of times in January, once right after the break, and again in March. So stay tuned, as they say. But yeah, Mike Brown let go by the Sacramento Kings. And again, we've been talking about the fact that the Kings are primed to do something stupid here with every loss. And last night's losing to the Pistons with a 10-point lead in about 3 minutes to go, and De'Aaron Fox fouling on a 3-point shot to allow Jaden Ivey a 4-point play in the closing seconds. That was enough to do the trick. But alas, wow. Just, yeah. De'Aaron Fox getting traded soon. I think we'll see. I don't think the owner wants to trade De'Aaron Fox. And we'd all know the owner in Sacramento is who fired Mike Brown. But I think De'Aaron Fox is probably going to be on his way out the door. CA, all right, I missed the game besides the last 5 minutes. Am I tripping? Or is JK not the problem? Well, he wasn't the problem tonight. He wasn't the problem tonight with a career-high 34 when nobody else was scoring. But, again, is he part of the solution with Steph and Draymond? I mean, that's the part you have to factor in here. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. No cap 757. Teams will probably be calling for JK after this game. Sell high. Look, a team that wants Jonathan Kaminga and is willing to put him in the role that the Warriors had Kaminga in tonight, I think would have a value for him and would want him. So I think that's important. I mean, there is a value in that for sure. EB here, they made Harden play the whole game. He was drenched with sweat, never played that hard in his life. By the way, we do have a little breaking baseball news as well here. Do we want to play the breaker here? It's not good news for the Giants, unless you believe in the curse of Arson Judge. John Heyman is reporting that Corbin Burns is signing with the Arizona Diamondbacks. So the guy that everybody's thought that the Giants were going to get, and St. Mary's and all that stuff, Corbin Burns, according to John Heyman, it just popped up here. We'll see if others follow. And again, for everybody that knows the curse of Arson Judge, he had Aaron Judge going to the Giants. It ultimately didn't happen. But yeah, Corbin Burns to the Diamondbacks per John Heyman, 6 years and $210 million with an opt-out after 2 years. So again, if that's true, then the Giants miss out on the number one pitching target for them. And he not only doesn't come to San Francisco, but he is in the National League West and goes to the Arizona Diamondbacks. So quick little baseball nugget here again. If others follow up and confirm the John Heyman report, we'll let you know. If others come through and dispute the John Heyman report, we'll let you know as well. But yeah, I saw Corbin Burns' name pop up there, and I thought, oh, Giants, a little Friday night action. No, doesn't sound like it. Doesn't sound like it. Estimated eyes in other news. I just finished making some amazing chocolate ice cream. I could go for some chocolate ice cream tonight. I'm not going to lie. I could. Bill M. Of course, JK's not the problem. He never has been. He has a head coach who has no clue what to do with him. And Bill M's a big JK guy. Big JK guy. Again, Kaminga can get 30 if it's entirely going to be about Kaminga. as it was tonight. That's not the issue. The issue is how do you make it work when you have Steph Curry and Draymond Green. Joe H., the Schruder trade looks terrible, and Hield can't make a shot. Yeah, Buddy Hield, I think everybody kind of knew was going to come back to earth at some point. He's come back to earth in a really significant way, I think, after the first couple of weeks of the season. He has been really bad. Enrique Rivera, Lindy Waters, terrible, shouldn't be on the team. Lindy Waters was not terrible tonight. He was actually one of the best players in terms of plus minus on the floor tonight for the Warriors. And you look at, he didn't shoot it well, but he didn't make a shot tonight at all, but he was a plus 16. Odd. That's an odd one. But because he was out there in the fourth quarter when they were coming back. But yeah, he was defending and had a couple of steals. And again, but you need guys that are going to make shots. So I'm half kidding when I say that. He was 0 for 6, but he did lead. He was a team high plus 16. He was out there with Kaminga and out there with Moody and Podziemski and those guys. And Jeff Passan now also adding to the Corbin Burns to the Diamondbacks reports there. So multiple reports now, including Jeff Passan of ESPN. 6 years and $210 million for Burns and the Arizona Diamondbacks. He will not, at least for the 2025 season, be coming to the San Francisco Giants. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. More coming up from the YouTube chat. We will also get to our Sounds of Dubs OT, which is coming up here in just a moment. As the Warriors lose to the Clippers, 102-92. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Did you hear something?
Yeah, like a swoosh.
Yeah.
Dubs OT presents the sounds of silver. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
All right, back here on Dubs OT, sounds of Dubs OT. Here, Warriors lose to the Clippers, 102-92, career-high scoring night for Jonathan Kaminga. Kaminga, 34 points, 10 boards, 5 assists. But he was the only one that had it going, really, for the Warriors in this one as they wind up losing it by 10. 808 KNBR, if you want to jump in and join the conversation between now and 11 o'clock. Still time to do so. And we appreciate everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch as well. We'll get more coming up here in the YouTube chat between now and 11 o'clock. And again, just wonderful. The numbers have been just tremendous lately. How does tonight change things as far as Jonathan Kaminga goes? You're more inclined to keep him now? Do you throw him in a deal? How do they get him on the same page to where he can coexist and play at an impactful level with Stephen Curry and Draymond Green? Because his best 2 games for the Warriors this season and in his career now have been 2 games where Stephen Curry and Draymond Green both have been out. I think that's pretty telling as to where things stand for this Golden State Warriors team and the incongruency in the timelines of what they're trying to accomplish this season and some of the young players' development for the future. Also, a quick note here before we get to our sound. Corbin Burns not coming to the San Francisco Giants. He was their primary pitching target. And not only is he not coming to the Giants, but he is going to remain or join now the National League West. He'll sign with the Arizona Diamondbacks, 6 years, $210 million, opt out after 2 years. That per John Heyman and Jeff Passan. Heyman had it first. So a womp-womp night for the Giants, but it is also December 27th. So still time for the Giants, obviously, to do something with 3 months to go until opening day in the major leagues. All right, let's continue the conversation here and get to our sounds of Dubs OT as we follow this Warriors 102-92 loss to the Clippers. And I got to find my doc here. All right, here we go. Steve Kerr, big topic tonight, Dennis Schruder in the post-game press conference down in Inglewood at Intuit Dome. Schruder has struggled, and we talked about it right off the top here in his time with the Warriors. He is shooting 28% in his first 5 games and 4 for 23 on threes in his first 5 games, averaging under 9 points a game. Steve Kerr, though, post-game is still not hitting the panic button on Schruder.
Well, it's always difficult to go to a new team in the middle of the season and not know your teammates very well. So it takes some time. He's still basically in training camp with our team. I mean, he's been here less than 2 weeks, I think. Played 4 or 5 games. So it's just going to take some time. But what you do is you trust who the player has been for 10 or 12 years. And you trust that, he'll get comfortable and settle in because it's a tiny sample size we're talking about.
All right, tiny sample size. Trust the back of the baseball card. It sounds like Marty Lurie, for crying out loud. I mean, it's just got to give it time. Got to give it time. Got to, let it play out. The mosaic. It's only 5 games. That's such a small percentage of an 82-game schedule. But yeah, you look at it, and he's not wrong. But I'm not going to lie, I'm concerned. Because I think the Warriors needed production from Schruder immediately, and they haven't got it. And not only have they not had it, but he just does not look like a fit at all. And I keep hearkening back to what Draymond said when he was acquired, in that, hey, Schruder is not a fit systemically for the Warriors, but he does things in a way that they need. And so they're going to have to adjust a little bit to him. And anytime I hear that kind of thing with the Warriors in the Kerr, Curry, Draymond, Klay Thompson era. Klay obviously gone now. It just, some guys it clicks and some guys it doesn't. And usually the guys that it clicks for immediately. And usually the guys it doesn't, you can kind of see it immediately. And again, two very different players stylistically, but the name that comes to mind is Kelly Oubre early. There is some Kelly Oubre vibes. Again, Oubre's a different player. He's more of a guard wing, not a great three-point shooter at the point in which he was with the Warriors, and really, really struggled just to make shots. More of a guy who's going to be getting kickouts in the line. Again, different player. Schruder's a primary ball handler, lead guard. I fully understand that. But when it comes down to the inability to fit the system, it's just kind of looked that way a little bit here with Schruder. All right, well, we've talked also about the Warriors being back to 500 again. 3-12 in the last 15 after 12-3 in the first 15. And the Warriors now starting all over beginning tomorrow night with Steph Curry and Draymond Green back and hosting the Phoenix Suns over at Chase Center. Here's what the head coach had to say about Golden State now essentially playing a 52-game regular season from scratch.
Long season, we're back to square one, 12-3, 3-12. We're right in the thick of everything. I know it's tough when you're in a stretch like this, but we're where we need to be. We got to find it. We got to find the combinations, but that type of energy, that's what we need to turn this thing around.
All right. Well, I don't know about where they need to be. I'm gonna push back on that one, because where they are currently is 15-15, and I got to look at the updated standings here. They sit at 15-15, which puts them in a tie right now with the Phoenix Suns, because San Antonio is 16-15, and so the Warriors are 15-15. The Suns are also 15-15, and the Suns beat the Warriors at the end of the month on November the 30th. And so you look up now, and the Warriors are on the outside looking in of even the play-in tournament as we sit. So I got a little bit of an issue with right where they need to be. If right where you need to be is 11th place in the Western Conference after a 12-3 start, that is not where you need to be. And again, the only team I think that has been more disappointing is Sacramento, who's beneath you at 13-18 and 12th now in the Western Conference, a couple of games behind where the Warriors are at this particular point in time. So yeah, got to start over, got to find it, but not in a good position right now. Golden State in the thick of it, in the sense that you look at the Clippers and where they are, and they're sixth right now, and like the Warriors are 2.5 basically out of sixth or fifth even. I think there is a line now with the top four that's separated, at least for the time being. OKC, Memphis, Houston, Dallas, all with 20 wins and right around 10, 11 losses or less. Oklahoma City, 24-5 at this particular point in time. And then, 5 through 12 is basically separated, and that's even with 5 through 12 is separated by 4.5 games in the standings. And again, that's even including Sacramento at 13-18, and they fired Mike Brown earlier today. All right, let's hear another one from Brandon Podziemski. Brandon Podziemski at the podium down in Inglewood, and Brandon Podziemski spoke to Jonathan Kaminga's career night.
Yep, efficient. Got to the line a bunch. All things you want to see in an up-and-coming star in the league. Helped us in a multitude of ways, offense and defense, 37 minutes. Good performance from him.
Yep, really good performance from Jonathan Kaminga in this one. And again, he was expected to be the lead dog tonight and nobody else really had it. But again, the ways in which Kaminga is effective at that level demand that he have the ball in his hands and just have the ability to pound it without expectation of winning. really, frankly. And so great night for him. But again, a Warriors team that got nothing from anybody else. And had they might have had a shot tonight, as they did in that game that they won when Kaminga had 33 a couple of weeks ago. Wiggins went along for the ride with them with 23 in that one. But the Warriors didn't have anybody with more than 15 tonight. And it was a scenario where they end up losing this one by 10. Bill M, as always, appreciate Bill M. Bill M is consistent. Very, very consistent. Can you imagine listening to this guy? He hates JK so much, even when he plays well, he finds a negative in it. He played well tonight. Warriors got beat by 10. He played well. Again, what do you want? What do you want, Bill M? He played well. I mean, you can have Jonathan Kaminga do this every night and you win 15 games. You can, back to expansionism. You want to build it around him right now? Build it around him right now. Let him cook. Let him cook. All right, Bill M. Appreciate you, my man. Appreciate you, my man. You know what the hell you're talking about, Bill M. But you can always have it. Why would Kaminga be a -5? I'm not even going to go there tonight. Not even going to go there tonight. All right, let's hear some more sound. Bill M, always in the chat, always listening. Love Bill M. Let's hear a little bit more from Steve Kerr. The other big note league-wide today is the insanity just down the road in Sacramento. Kings at 13-18 after a couple of winning seasons, firing Mike Brown. It's hard to believe. And Steve Kerr, in his pregame press conference, addressed that. Brown, of course, left the Warriors after they won the championship in 2022 to become the head coach of the Kings, led him to the playoffs for the first time in 17 years, and is fired just over a year and a half later after they did knock the Warriors out in the play-in tournament last year, but didn't make the playoffs themselves as they got beat by the Pelicans, who took the 8 seed. Again, in the midst of a 5-game losing streak right now, and Vivek fires Mike Brown in Sacramento. Here's Steve Kerr on that.
Yeah, very disappointed to hear the news. Mike is a great friend, great coach. I talked to him, and we all kind of know this is the nature of the business, but it just seems so shocking when a guy is unanimous coach of the year a year and a half ago. And when you think about where that franchise was before Mike got there and where they've been the last couple of years, the job that he and his staff have done, it's just really shocking. And I know they've been in a tough spell, but this is the NBA. We all go through tough spells. And I just know that I feel very fortunate to work in an organization that really values continuity and that allows our team and our staff and our group to get through the rough patches, because they're all every team in the league is going to face these rough stretches like we're going through right now. And so I know I'm probably the exception rather than the rule when it comes to organizational support and continuity. And it doesn't mean it's going to last forever, but it means that I've been very lucky to coach here and work for this organization, because it's not easy. This job, this business, it's pretty rough. So I feel terribly for Mike today.
Yeah, tough. And Mike Brown waited and tried to find the right opportunity. And it is unfortunate, because he really was such a good fit from a coaching standpoint, in that, defensive oriented coach, but also a coach that really puts a high attention to detail on his preparation. And while the Kings were never a great defensive team by any stretch there, he really turned their offense into one of the best in the game for the time that he was there. But really opened up De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, and Harrison Barnes was key for them the first 2 seasons, and Keegan Murray really had a declining this year, but his first couple of seasons were outstanding. Malik Monk flourished as somebody that has been more banged up and injured after they paid him in the offseason to bring him back. And then they go get DeRozan on top of it. And I think it's, in some ways, it's an example of some faulty expectations in thinking that DeRozan was suddenly going to lead them to kind of being a top 4 team in the West or something like that. But they should be, in fairness, better than 13 and 18. I think that part of it is a surprise. But when you think about it, Mike Brown, really a good fit. I thought in Sacramento, his personality, in addition to just the type of coach he is, I know from working in Sacramento and growing up in Sacramento, that, they like guys who are, kind of corny and folksy with the media, and will yuck it up with them and let them watch practice and explain things to them and laugh with them and joke with them. And so, I mean, to see him gone in, less than 3 years with a record overall of pretty close to 20 games over 500 is pretty incredible. So the Kings stay being the Kings. I mean, just an embarrassment. In case you needed a reminder that even though it looked like things had maybe changed in Sacramento, nothing has changed in Sacramento. And so Doug Christie's going to be their head coach, and we'll see how they do moving forward. Steve Kerr, more diplomatic on the Mike Brown firing than former Kings head coach Michael Malone was. Michael Malone and the Nuggets got smoked tonight at home. But prior to that, he addressed the firing, and Cleveland beat him 149-135 in Denver. But here was Michael Malone, who got fired by the Kings 10 years ago, went to Denver. He's won a chip. He's made millions of dollars, but he keeps that same energy for Vivek Ranadive, as you'll hear right here.
Awful. Yeah, awful. And the reason I say that, Matt, is so we're going into a meeting this afternoon. And, the good thing about me is that I'm not on social media. I'm not aware of what's going on outside these walls sometimes. I've had an office with no windows for 10 years and probably taken off 6 years of my life. And I go into the meeting and the coaches say, "You hear about Mike Brown?" I said, "Why? What happened?" They said he got fired. And at first I was really shocked and surprised. Then I caught myself. So why am I shocked and surprised? For 2 reasons. One, because as an NBA head coach, ultimately you're going to get the blame. When they win, it's going to go to Sabonis and Fox. When you lose, it's going to go to Mike Brown. That's the way it works. And 2, who he works for. So I'm not surprised that Mike Brown got fired, because I got fired by the same person. And what really pissed me off about it was the fact that they lost last night, 5th game in a row, I believe. Tough loss, following a jump shooter. They had practice this morning. He does his post-game media, and he's in his car going to the airport to fly to LA, and they call him on the phone. No class, no balls. That's what I'll say about that.
Wow. Keep that. Michael Malone, seriously, truly. Michael Malone is my spirit animal. Like that energy 10 years after the fact, I love it. Absolutely love it. And yeah, classless.
No class, no balls.
That's gotta be in the Kyle. That's gotta be in the close. Like we need a little Michael Malone in the close. There are a bunch of little pieces we can fit into that. Michael Malone must be in the close to this show, because he truly is my spirit animal. That is without a doubt. Keeping that energy hot.
No class, no balls.
Do we need a no class, no balls award of the night on Dubs OT, Kyle? Do we need to make that a sponsored segment? Yeah, I don't think anybody fit the void tonight. But so yeah, some good stuff there from Michael Malone as the league continues to react to that. And we'll see. I mean, he just got a contract extension. And so he's going to obviously be getting paid for a while, so he'll have the ability to do whatever he wants in terms of going and being an assistant somewhere, being a consultant somewhere. I mean, I think he's somebody that when the time is right and he gets away from it a little bit, the Warriors would absolutely welcome Mike Brown back into the fold as an assistant coach. And I think the job that he did in Sacramento, much like the job that Michael Malone did in Sacramento a decade ago, will help Mike Brown get yet another job. And look, he had quite the resume even before he came to the Warriors as an assistant coach during his time, obviously with Cleveland and young LeBron and all of that. So incredible stuff. A couple more things here from the YouTube chat. As San Jose Jazz fan 4, Mrs. Jazz fan did not want to watch when the Warriors were down 21, but I made her. I'm beginning to question her fandom. That's pretty funny. Well, good on Mrs. Jazz fan for sticking with it. More here in the chat. Tony Smith, Wiggins was cheeks tonight. Also adding, what's going on with Schruder? Yeah, what's going on with Schruder is it doesn't look like he fits. And that, I think, is problematic here moving forward. Andis Brown had a great comment on Mike Brown, and he said, hey, he's personable, but also holds people accountable, and that's what it was. I mean, they needed a coach in SAC that was going to hold players accountable, and specifically, he tried repeatedly to hold De'Aaron Fox accountable and try to get him to raise his game to another level. But yeah, Andis Brown, bunch of Kings fans should have no class, no balls T-shirts at their next game. It's a good call. Good call.
No class, no balls.
Pretty good. Yeah, Rodrigo saying Malone about to be gone too. He's taking a lot of heat right now in Denver, which is pretty incredible considering that they won a championship a year and a half ago. But the one thing I will say, I mean, Michael Malone and Andis Brown says this: Malone wears his heart on his sleeve. That's why his players love him. Players do love that. The media loves that. I think fan bases love that when you win. But the other part of the equation when you don't win, and he routinely, talking about Michael Malone, he routinely will call out his team in press conferences for their play. And I can only imagine what it was tonight when they gave up 149 to the Cleveland Cavaliers at home. And so I think that's what people are kind of, frustrated with and reacting to. And they're also a team that I think is looking to make a big trade right now, whether it's Jimmy Butler or Zach LaVine or others. I mean, their name is constantly in the conversation as far as looking to make a big deal. Here was the Andis Brown comment. Brown is demanding but personable. The Kings needed that and let him go. Yeah, I mean, it's the best coach that they've had in 20 years, and he's gone. And then they end up with let's hire the worst kind of hire. Let's hire the fan favorite to be the head coach. Let's hire the fan favorite former player to be the head coach. When you have a legitimate NBA head coach and the best coach you've had in 2 decades. People in the chat, Dre's contract is the worst. Joe Schmo, their team is Curry and Dre and the bench. They need to add the right players and keep the right players. They got one shot. That's what it comes down to. They got one shot to be able to make a deal that can significantly change things. Estimated eyes, I'm calling for a coach swap. Kerr for Mike Brown straight up. Look, I think the Warriors would love to have Mike Brown back as an assistant, but I don't know that that's necessarily going to happen at any point this season. Maybe a consultant type deal. But yeah, the Kings definitely did Mike Brown dirty, without a doubt. OKC 24-5. No question. A debate about Jordan Poole. I can't believe we're still doing the Jordan Poole thing. I mean, Jordan Poole's having a bounce back year. They made that decision, and look, nobody's untouchable right now other than Steph. And I mean Draymond, I think, as well. But other than that, I think everybody else right now is on the table. And as the Warriors are continuing to search here for combinations and rotations and starters and all these different things, as they continue to search, they may have a significant trade of their own that winds up being in the mix here. All right, let's close it out here with some fun with numbers.
This is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
All right, Warriors now 15-15, 3-12 in the last 15 after the 12-3 in the first 15, 8-8 road, 7-7 home, third straight loss, sixth loss in the last 7 games. And the Clippers have now won 6 straight games head-to-head against the Warriors, 3 last season, 3 this season. And they'll play one more time at Chase Center on April the 13th. The Warriors and the Clippers' 4th and final meeting, and that is the final game of the 2024-25 regular season for the Warriors. First time this season, the Warriors lost the first game in a back-to-back. They had been 3-0, and they will have back-to-back tomorrow at home against the Suns. 20 clutch games for the Warriors. They moved in front of Sacramento, who had the lead with 19 clutch games. With their 20th clutch game, the Warriors are 8-12 now in 20 clutch games. Sacramento 6-13, which is a league worst. And the Warriors have had a clutch game in 14 of the last 15, 7 of the last 8 as well. And we have mentioned this one on a couple of different occasions. The Warriors were 5-2 in their first 7 clutch games. Score within 5 points with 5 minutes or less to go. And they are now 3-10 in their last 12 clutch games after the 5-2 start to the season. And as they've played the 20 clutch games now here in 2024, the 24 portion of the schedule. 18th different starting lineup for the Warriors. Again, still searching is Steve Kerr. And the second time that the Warriors played without Steph and Draymond, they're 1-1 in those games. And again, the one commonality in those is Jonathan Kaminga, career highs in both games, 33 a couple weeks ago against the Rockets, 34 in the game tonight, as the Warriors are now 0-11 when they trail going into the fourth quarter, and 1-5 when held under 100 points. They've been held under 100 points in both games that they didn't have Steph Curry and Draymond Green. Didn't hit 10 threes tonight for the Dubs, just the second time this season. The other time the Warriors didn't hit 10 threes in a game, that same game that they won without Steph and Draymond back on December 5th against the Rockets. Warriors 18.4% shooting in this one from three-point range, 7 of 38 for Golden State. Ugly stuff. Great night for Jonathan Kaminga. We've given him his praise tonight. First double-double of the season, 9th in his career, 34 points, 10 boards. He had 5 assists, career high in free throws made and attempted. He was 11 for 14. It's the most scored by a Warriors reserve this season, but he healed and scored 27 on a couple of different occasions. And that is a wonderful evening for Jonathan Kaminga here, as he tied for the second most points off the bench for any player in the NBA this season. Cole Anthony had 35 in a game a couple of days ago. And so Jonathan Kaminga continues to bring it off the bench. And the last time a Warrior player scored that much off the bench, it was Klay Thompson in the game right before the All-Star break when Steve Kerr moved Klay Thompson to the bench. Trace Jackson Davis in this one, 15 points and 9 boards to go with a couple of assists. That will do it for Dubs OT here on this Friday night. Thanks to everybody in the YouTube chat. Thanks to everybody in the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line, and the callers as well, as we'll be back tomorrow, beginning the show on YouTube only, as we do have the NFL tomorrow on KNBR over the air, and I'll be out at Harmonic Brewing, and we'll get it going for a segment on YouTube, and then join as soon as the NFL game is over on KNBR as well from Harmonic Brewing. Warriors and the Suns going at it tomorrow. So thanks to Ryan McCarthy. Thanks to Kyle Haar. I see Jordan Pratari there in the back as well. We will talk to you tomorrow. Dubs OT from Harmonic in Thrive City. Warriors lose tonight 102-92. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Rotation by Dunn to Jones. And the Warriors don't get the defensive rebound, leaving Powell open for 3. Jones Jr. with the slam.
It screams at him, too. Oh, my goodness. Derek Jones Jr. punished the ref just now.
John Dickinson.
No, God! No, God, please, no, no!
Big audio quality show.
You are a sicko, and I appreciate you for it because I'm a sicko.
I just know they kicked our ass tonight.
No class, no balls.